Hey class, so I wanted to give you a few more ideas of how denotative and connotative poster examples can work side by side. I'm still going to be using the examples of architecture because this is a class that I gave recently, but I actually gave the assignment to be architectural movements instead of recipes. So bear with me. It's still the same thing if you put the same kind of ideas into recipes or anything really, art movements, historical movements. It could be applied to any type of content you work with. So I just wanted to share with you some examples we have here. Right. So here we're going to take a look at the denotative approach over here on the side. So on the left hand side we're looking at Bangkok Book Festival 2016. Okay, so as we can see, the titles are very simple and straightforward, very legible, but we see different levels of hierarchy. So we have the Bangkok Book Festival, weekend, literary weekend, and then we start to read the subtitles over here, right? And then we get into the body copy. So very much of a structured format. And over here for the connotative, we can see the breaking up of the words, yet we can still maintain readability and clarity of the words that are being said on this poster. And we understand that why this is a particular format right here and why is this type of movement going on. It's because this is a book festival, and usually in book festival you see different booths and you see different kinds of shelves and books piled up. So this is the idea for the connotative, and I think it works really well for this particular concept of a book festival. So try to think about, even though we are working with denotative, this is a book festival, but so we're working here for the denotative, we're using that structure of a bookshelf, right? But very slight connotative, right? And here, this is where we go all out on the connotative approach, the more emotive side, all right? So a little bit of a delicate balance between the two. I'll show you more examples right here. Okay. As you can see, a little bit of connotation here, but this is the denotative and this is the connotative right here. Okay. Denotative, connotative. We're taking straightforward text right here, layered out in a grid, and we're actually putting it in a particular perspective over here, right? So simple moves like that. Denotative, connotative. And the denotation and connotation can be relative to your recipe and concept. So you want to make sure that you maintain that both of them work well side by side, yet one has more of an emotive quality. Okay. Now let's look at titles. So here we can see just how the title really takes a lot of hierarchy in some of those posters. So here we take a look at a more connotative approach, right? And more denotative approach just by breaking down the letter forms, right? But we're looking at the structure of the letter forms and how high they are for that to enforce that grid for the rest of our body copy, right? So how this word in progress breaks up reinforces the structure of our poster right here by looking at how we're using the body copy, okay? And this one's pretty simple and straightforward. We've done some pretty illustrative perspective drawings here for the text, and the text over here is pretty simple because we want the attention to be on the title, right? So this is another idea of taking a look at how the title can take shape in our format. Okay, just some ideas here. Denotative, connotative. All right. Connotative, denotative. Okay. Some more ideas. Denotative, connotative. Now let's look at subtitles. With subtitles, we can see we can also get just as creative we can with the actual um, contrast between the title itself. So here we're using color. And in some cases, this could be done by weight too. So if we do like a lightweight, large format for the title, and we can do a subtitle that's bold and a smaller size. So that's also something that we can start to introduce into our layouts. Over on this side over here, and again, this is denotative. Here in the connotative side, we take a look at um, the actual title being almost like an illustration that goes into the background. And then here is where we take a look at the subtitles here and then the rest of the information that follows, right? So your connotative approach can be almost illustrative, but yet it still needs to maintain readability. I was a little bit hesitant to show you this example, but I still need it to read at some point. So it would be nice if I were to kind of take a look at this and not have to think about what it is that I'm looking at and what is it that I'm reading. So, but I like the idea of where this is going, and it's pushing the boundaries of perspective and letter forms, and things are overlapping one another. It's almost maze-like. So this is why I actually chose to show this example to you guys. Okay. So again, this is the connotative approach, and like I said, connotation and denotation is relative to your idea, but here we're working with a particular type of poster where we're taking the size of the title and really blowing it up to match the whole size of the poster, and we're breaking down our letter forms like so, and we're using our letter forms to reinforce the body copy structure on the page, right? So we see 3 levels of hierarchy. We have the title, the subtitle, and then the body copy and date over here for the connotative approach. This one I would say has a little bit of connotation, but it's actually denotation, where we're looking at some ideas of titles, right? But I don't want us to go too far with how illustrative this is going. Like, I like where this is going, where we're looking at ultra thin letter forms and a little bit thicker letter forms here, and breaking up the word for the particular format of the poster, and then just simple body copy. So this is just to give you an idea of hierarchy and how that works. And now let's look at body copy. So let's see with body copy where we can actually go. So this is for the connotative approach. This is the denotative approach for this format. So simple, straightforward, we have titles and a bit of a, what I would say, a list over here. This could be a pull quote if needed, subtitles over here, and smaller body copy. So simple, straightforward with some grid. Here we also have some kind of grid going on as well, but we have a little bit of variation in how the text is being laid out in the overall layout. So we have some stacking and we have some pull quotes going out here. We have things in bold, we're highlighting certain areas. There's a lot more movement going on in this particular layout. And if you notice, even with the overall white space around the letter forms, you're getting more of a connotative layout versus this one, which is very much a grid, an iron grid, you know. So this is also something to think about, is your negative space, the space around your letter forms and your body copy and titles. How do you use that in your denotative and connotative approach? Okay. So just some ideas to take a look at in terms of what body copy can look like in a denotative and connotative approach. And you can also do things like taking pull quotes and highlighting certain sentences or phrases in your recipes. That works too. What I like about this particular example is we're taking something so bold, windsurf, and then we have the title, and then the subtitle just going in with much smaller copy, but there's enough contrast here that we're seeing like a lot of different things going on here with the bold text over here, and then we have something like a third element over here, which is Historia Del, and then we have the kerning here of this text, which has been extended to its extreme. So this particular format for a title works really nicely for a connotative approach. And then just simple body copy here. But then we're starting to bring elements that pull from this body copy, which makes this a strong connotative approach, right? And this one here, just bold copy with simple text. But as you can see, we're also bringing in some elements of connotation here of how we're using that text and how we're stacking it. So little hints here and there. And also seeing how we're using the white space here with the connotative versus the denotative. So just some things to think about. This is an example of how we take a look at denotative and connotative timelines and how they could be used. Just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. This could work if you're doing step-by-step recipes, so like step 1, step 2, step 3. So think about that for your layout too. Like, you know, don't just put your layout instructions just in one solid box. Try to get creative with the steps, you know? That's also something worth looking at because we want to see something interesting on the page, right? And I mean this for both connotative and denotative. You know, just because it's denotative doesn't have to be one solid block of text. Just use your imagination and creativity with this. It's another example of how you can break up the step-by-step guides here, you know. So something to think about. Also another approach. This person here is using borders around some of their body copy, the different dates here. This could be step 1, step 2, step 3 with a little pull quote. Maybe some kind of element that's being highlighted in certain areas of the ingredients list, or even the instructions too. This is more of a denotative approach where we're just simply taking larger scale numbers and we're stacking the information underneath in simple body copy. Now we go to pull quotes. So pull quote could be anything from your recipe that you find could be something worth highlighting. So it could be a certain kind of comment. It could be what you feel about this recipe. It could be you know, a certain area in your recipe that if things go wrong, this is definitely something you don't want to miss out on, or you definitely don't want to skip this step. So this is how we deal with little areas of information like this, where we're trying to pull that information and highlight it to make it unique and important to our reader. So stacking our pull quote like so, or with larger copy for the text, simple body copy treatment underneath. And I would say maybe include 1 or 2 pull quotes for your title treatments, or I'm sorry, your recipes. And just take a look at how that format works with your overall themes. Okay? It's another idea of how pull quotes work with the overall layout and typography in general. So sometimes it's just following the grid for our denotative approach, where we're following the grid of our layout like so. And then for the connotative approach, this person chose to take the paragraph and jut the pull quote right so into the paragraph. So this is kind of like a more invasive approach, where you're seeing simple body copy and the title, and then you have like this text, bold text coming into the paragraph. So that's also another approach for a connotative pull quote. Okay. So this is just something I will create for you for your checklist for your next part of the assignment. But I hope this was helpful, just taking a look at ways to interpret denotative approach, a connotative approach for your recipes, be it for your ingredients list, be it for your titles, your subtitles, your pull quotes, and your instructions. So get creative. Those are recipes that I hope you are enjoying making, but also literally and figuratively for your assignment. Also, if something if you can also pass this down to certain family and friends, they'll definitely see like it's a different approach for how we interpret food and how we interpret information regarding recipes. So have fun with it, and the next video will be about your assignment for next week.